Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 57 of Big Brother Season 23's overnight feed recaps, and welcome to Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. All right, tonight's the night. Tonight is live eviction episode. Either Kyland or Sarah Beth will be going to the jury house. It's going to be Sarah Beth. No ifs, ands, and buts. Sarah Beth will be heading to the jury house tonight. The big drama tonight isn't going to be the eviction part of the episode. It's going to be the HOH competition, because whoever wins the HOH this week is going to control a lot of the in-game happening with this house. It's going to be, it's an important HOH. Julie announced it's going to be an endurance competition, which I think a lot of us were suspecting already, which means we probably won't get to see it. We won't see the conclusion on the live episode itself. I'm really holding out hope that we get to watch it on the live feeds and that we just don't have feeds cut and find out a winner sometime early on Friday morning. I hope we get to watch it tonight, but that's going to be the big drama, is the actual HOH competition and what happens with that. Sarah Beth's going home. It's a foregone conclusion. Doesn't mean there wasn't a whole lot of conversations involving that yesterday and yesterday evening as well. So we're going to talk about some of that. Now, again, even though we know what's going to happen with the eviction, we still had a lot of one-on-one meetings that take place every Wednesday or so this season and most seasons. Sarah Beth and Kylan both holding their one-on-one. Sarah Beth did hers in the afternoon. She probably took a couple hours from start to finish. Hers was quick, got people in there. I didn't hear all of them, but apparently from what she's saying, and we'll talk about it a little bit, a lot of people just kind of saying, not really saying a whole lot back to Sarah Beth, which is never a good sign. But Sarah Beth gets her one-on-ones all taken care of in a couple hours. Kyland, he had his one-on-ones all evening long, and then a little bit longer. Kyland can stretch out a topic just a little bit, can he? So his were certainly longer than Sarah Beth's was, and we'll talk about those as well. So let's get on to the feeds themselves. As we come back from the actual episode last night on TV, we see a lot of the house guests talking about getting a tattoo to remember their time in the house. I don't know what it is about this shared experience that everyone feels like they want to get a tattoo to remember it. I remember having a conversation like that with a whole lot of people in the house during my season as well. While you're in there, sounds like a fantastic idea. When you get out, it's like, I'm kind of okay with that. So maybe they'll be the same way, but certainly some of them are talking about getting a tattoo. I think Big D's talking about getting a Joker somewhere to commemorate being part of the Joker Alliance and all of that. We'll see if it actually happens now, but a lot of conversations about that. Then they move on to a discussion about who would play each house guest if this season was turned into a movie. I had a lot of ideas thrown out, but I got to say the ones I enjoyed the most were talking about Frenchie, and the two names I was laughing about, they're saying Eminem or Bruce Willis could play Frenchie. Yeah, all right. Well, that'd be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? So there you go. We had a big blue couch episode. It was a short one. I think Alyssa was doing some stuff with it. Now, another big blue couch episode. Kyland talking about his one-on-ones. I think he took almost 2 hours with Tiffany. He came up. I think he came up or came down, had some dinner and everything. He ended up getting Azza in for her one-on-one as well. Azza, I think the Big Brother production team may have felt a little sorry for Azza last night, because they only let Azza and Kylan talk for about half an hour in a one-on-one session before they called Kylan down to the DR. So Azza got a little bit of a break in terms of the conversation last night. It was stopped prematurely. So we got that. Xavier, on the other hand, Xavier's acting a little frustrated. Yeah, he's frustrated, but jokingly about it. But Xavier's complaining, saying, "Oh my gosh, everyone's done their one-on-one with Kylan except for me. I still have to do my one-on-one. Kylan has now gotten called to the diary room. By the time he gets there, he's going to want to do it with me. It's going to take forever. I'm going to be waiting forever for this guy to finish up." So Xavier's seeing a long evening ahead of him if he's not careful. Because Xavier knows Kylan may have a few topics of conversation he wants to talk with Xavier, and it's going to be probably a long meeting. I think if I'm in Xavier's position, I'm going to bed. I'm going to make sure before Kylan gets out of that diary room that I am in bed. And if I'm not asleep, I'm sure going to make it look like I'm asleep, because I can't picture anything that's so important to be discussed. It's not a huge discussion about what's going to happen with the votes or the HOH tomorrow. I think I'd just call it a night and not worry about it. But Xavier's waiting up, get it out of the way, talking to Kylan. Xavier's talking to Hannah, saying, look, you already had your one-on-one with Kylan. Is there anything that he talked about that I need to be ready for, be prepared for? It takes Hannah probably 5 minutes of just covering the summary of what Kylan talked about. How Sarah Beth is feeling, who the next HOH could be, what kind of competition do you think it would be, what kind of scenarios could exist in terms of people going up, people being targeted, people being safe, etc. Could there be a battle back possibility? On and on and on and on. So yeah, Kylan certainly has very comprehensive talks. We'll just leave it at that. Hannah has this is some conversations. We've got Hannah and Tiffany. I think this is 11:30 or so last night. They've kind of been waiting for everyone to settle down, start getting ready for bed and such. And they sneak up to the poker room, the poker lounge upstairs outside the HOH room. We haven't seen as many conversations up there lately, but they sneak up there to have a little conversation. Hannah has an interesting idea that she's kicking around a bit. She's saying, look, if it's just Claire and the cookout members are all that's left, what if we had, instead of putting Claire up, why don't we put up two Cookout Alliance members, and Tiffany make you one of those two Cookout members, with the idea being this: if Claire wins veto, she's safe no matter what. Whether Claire's on the block or not, she's safe if she wins veto. So by having Tiffany up on the block ahead of time, if Claire wins the veto, she's going to almost certainly pull Tiffany off the block. So now Tiffany is safe, and that gives them an excuse to maybe go after some other people in the Cookout Alliance, as in the guys. So Hannah's thrown that out as just a way to ensure that Tiffany is safe in case Claire wins the veto. If Claire doesn't win the veto, Hannah's saying if she doesn't win it, then whoever does win it will pull someone off, put Claire up, and Claire goes home. So we're safe either way, Tiffany. It's an interesting idea. And there's a lot of assumptions with that in terms of who's going to win the HOH, who's going to actually put the people on the block. But I'm sure if Tiffany approached someone and said, hey, put me up there, you could probably make it happen. I thought it was kind of interesting. We'll see how that fleshes out as they talk about it a little bit more. Some of the other conversation that the two of them are having, they're talking about wanting to form an alliance with Alyssa, just on the off chance that she doesn't go home this week, which is their preference. They've both said, we've got to win HOH this week so that we can make sure that we send her out the door. But just on the off chance that Alyssa doesn't head out the door this week, the two of them are saying they need to form an alliance with her and convince her to then put up Azah and Kylan if she was to win the final 7 HOH competition. And I assume Azah and Kylan up there, Kylan would be the target that Tiffany and Hannah would want to go after. But of course, as I said, this is assuming that Alyssa is still there. They would much rather go ahead and send Alyssa home next week and keep Claire for one additional week and keep her as a final 7 member, the last non-Cookout Alliance member in the house. Again, it's going to be the men versus women to some degree, I think. Men want to keep Alyssa, women want to keep Claire. Whoever wins HOH tonight probably has the decision on which way they go with that. Hannah is interesting, and they're talking about putting up Azah and Kylan, getting Alyssa to do that, sending Kylan out. But Hannah is saying that she actually would just as soon have Big D go out first, that she'd like to see him out the door first, then follow it up with Kylan. And her thinking is this: send Big D out as the first Cookout Alliance member to go home, then hope that Xavier, being the competitive person he is, hope that Xavier wins the next HOH. Let him send out Kylan on his HOH reign, so then Kylan goes home. And then Xavier can't compete in the final 4 HOH because he's existing HOH, so he can't compete, which means then that 4 women are competing in that final 4 HOH competition, which Hannah sees that as the perfect scenario, the perfect situation. Again, it depends on who wins these next few HOHs, whether that actually comes into play or not. Tiffany is okay with the idea, but she's warning Hannah. She's saying, look, don't let Xavier fool you. Don't let him get too far in this game or think that he's working with you too tightly. He'll get you if you trust him too much. Don't trust Xavier. Tiffany's on to Xavier. She knows he's not a bartender, but she also, I think, understands that he is a very smart guy, that he represents maybe the biggest threat to her game, I think, right now, between her and $750,000. So she sure doesn't want to see Hannah getting too chummy with Xavier. Tiffany wants to hold on to Hannah for herself. She doesn't want to see Hannah straying too much over to Xavier. So she's throwing some seeds out there. She's trying to warn Hannah about Xavier and again, trying to cut that little relationship as best she can. 11:30 or so at night, and Kylan is waiting around for Xavier to be ready to head up to the one-on-one room. Eventually, Xavier heads up to the have-not room where they're doing the one-on-ones. Xavier looks like a guy walking to the guillotine, heading off to see the executioner. He's not a lot of joy in his step as he's heading upstairs to take care of this one-on-one. While they're doing that, we've got all the women discussing different video games that they've played. Sarah Beth, I think, is the one talking about Grand Theft Auto that she just wrecks every time. That turns on to a lot of different video games. But just to cut that all short, just my own personal opinion, best video game ever of all time, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Yes, anyone who wants to challenge me, go for it. It's my favorite. I think it's the best of all time. So there you go. But they talk a lot about video games. Xavier, amazingly, Xavier's back down after only half an hour of conversation with Kylan. He tells Alyssa that he told Kylan he wasn't going to do an hour-long talk. And Tiffany's saying, well, I'm surprised it didn't take 59 minutes then. I'm surprised he didn't keep up there as long as he could. Xavier's an attorney. Xavier probably knows how to cut to the chase or at least stop people in their tracks and shut down things that aren't quite as important. So yeah, Xavier put his foot down and said, yeah, you're not getting more than an hour out of me, Kylan. And he actually got about half an hour. And that's probably more than enough time. Sarah Beth has grabbed Claire and Tiffany and is asking them if they're still planning to keep her. Remember, Tiffany at the very start of the week had really just, she just lied straight to Sarah Beth's face and said, yeah, you're not the target. Kylan's the target. So Sarah Beth still kind of believing this as late as last night, and asking them if their plans are still the same, if they're feeling more or less inclined to keep her. They're very non-committal, which is never a good sign. Sarah Beth says she thinks that she's trying to explain to them how she thinks it'll work. Sarah Beth's saying that she thinks she has Oz's vote. She's pretty certain she's got Oz's vote, that she can get Big D's vote, which means really she only needs 2 more votes in order to stay. Now, unfortunately, we don't know. Well, we know, but she doesn't officially know who the secret HOH is. So she's saying if she's got Oz's vote, she's got Big D's vote. If she could get Claire and Tiffany's vote, then that's the 4. But if she could also get Hannah's vote, then that's 5 votes. And it doesn't matter who is the secret HOH, because she has, even if one of them is the secret HOH, she still has 4 votes. She gets to stay in the house. And so she's got it all figured out, the votes that she needs to gain. She's not thinking that she has any chance to get the votes from Alyssa or Xavier. So she zoomed in on where she needs the votes. A whole lot of hopes and wishes, and if I just have this vote, things like that. The reality is, she may have Oz's vote if it's a sympathy vote, but other than that, all the rest of these are just assumptions and hopes and all, and she doesn't have them. But play the game, Sarah Beth. She's trying. Tiffany finishes it off by saying, all right, well, let me sleep on it. Well, let's see. We'll talk about it tomorrow. That's not the way you want to end one of these conversations when you're begging for votes. All right, at this point, we've got Sarah Beth and Kylan talking. They spend the rest of the evening talking. I mean, the entire rest of the evening. Sarah Beth's telling Kylan that during all of her one-on-ones, everyone was very vague with her in terms of giving out information, answers, etc. That's the worst thing you could get. Well, I guess the worst thing you get is someone say, forget you, I'm voting against you. But the second worst thing you can get is people just saying, okay, let me think. Because that's just a secret way of saying, I'm too polite to say no to your face. I won't be giving you your vote, but give your talk and then wait till tomorrow. So now she's saying everyone was very vague. No one promised me anything. I don't think that's a good sign. Kylan, on the other hand, is saying, yeah, most of my conversations were pretty long conversations just because I was having personal conversations, just trying to build relationships with people, get to know them better and all that. he's saying my pitch was pretty basic. He said, just to cut it down to the basics, my pitch was just, if your game benefits from keeping me, keep me. If your game benefits from keeping Sarah Beth, then keep Sarah Beth. He said, that's all I had as far as the pitch goes. Which may be true, but I have a feeling Kylan was able to take that one little sentence and stretch it out into about a 45-minute conversation just talking about that. But he's saying that's what his pitch was. Kylan's also saying that he spent a lot of time defending Sarah Beth to everyone that he talked to, which is pretty rough to be telling someone that. That doesn't make you feel good, does it? He's saying everyone was saying that Sarah Beth has been dishonest or disloyal to everyone in the house except for him. He's the only person that she's been loyal to. If Sarah Beth thought there was a chance when she talked to Tiffany and Claire earlier, this conversation with Kylan right now should just cut that out completely. She knows at this point, and it turns out she does realize. She knows after hearing Kylan talk and everyone talking about how disloyal she is, how dishonest, she at this point should know and does know that she's the target, that she is going to be going home. Sarah Beth is responding saying, look, people threw me under the bus. And specifically, she's talking about Tiffany and Claire. She's saying they threw me under the bus to Alyssa and Xavier, saying things that I didn't say. Well, I kind of remember Sarah Beth kind of doing the same thing. I remember Sarah Beth throwing Xavier and Alyssa very much under the bus to Claire and Tiffany, telling Claire and Tiffany that Alyssa and Xavier were going after them and plotted to come after them and such. So, it's Big Brother. There's a lot of throwing people under the bus. That's part of the game, and it just is what it is. But she's upset about that. Sarah Beth is also blaming it all on Derek X. She's calling him a manipulative liar. She said, hey, he may be a nice guy, but he's a manipulative liar. Well, come on, Sarah Beth. Yeah, we all take responsibility for our gameplay and way things happen. And I think that I think Sarah Beth is still pretty upset at Derek X for calling her out during his eviction speech and comparing her gameplay to Nicole F. I think that kind of hit home. You never know, these eviction speeches sometimes people just blow it. I brush it off. I don't think twice about it. I think that hit Sarah Beth a little bit more even than maybe we suspected. And I think she really is holding that against Derek X, which is going to make for an interesting jury house. Brittany and Derek X and now Sarah Beth hanging out together. I have a feeling they'll be fine once they get away from the stress of being inside the house. And they can kind of compare notes a little bit in the jury house and all that. But we'll see. Maybe not. Maybe Sarah Beth's going to have a little grudge against Derek X. All right. Sarah Beth is also saying that she's going to throw a Hail Mary tomorrow. She's thinking she's going to have to just go ahead and blow up Claire and Tiffany's game. And I guess she's thinking if she does that, she could maybe count on Xavier and Alyssa's vote instead. But she wants to blow up Claire and Tiffany's game by talking about exposing the Jackpot Alliance. Now, remember, the Jackpot Alliance is Sarah Beth, Tiffany, and Claire. So she's saying, I'm going to blow up the Jackpot Alliance. I'm going to let Alyssa and Xavier know they can't trust Tiffany and Claire. They've been working under the table with me, and I'm not sure it's going to work the way that Sarah Beth thinks it's going to work. No one's going to be surprised to hear that Tiffany and Claire are working together. And it'd be easy enough for Tiffany and Claire to tell Xavier and Alyssa that, hey, yeah, we told her that we were in alliance with her, but we're sending her home. So obviously that was just something to tell her to keep her calm and comfortable and not an actual alliance. But Sarah Beth wants to blow things up as she walks out the door, and we'll see. I think it'll land with a dud, and that'll be the end to it. At this point, we've got Sarah Beth. She's now crying on Kylan's shoulder. She's talking about what a bad game she played. Kylan's saying, look, yeah, you did good. You made good decisions. It's just things happen beyond your knowledge. We only know a limited amount of information in this house, which is true. He says there's just things that were happening that you weren't aware of. More hints about the Cookout Alliance. And Sarah Beth is saying, look, I think at this point in time, Alyssa is going to be final two, and I hope it's up against you, Kylan. Yeah, Alyssa is not making final two. Well, never say never, but I don't think she's making final two. Sarah Beth just doesn't have a good understanding of the game. She's going to learn a lot once she gets into the jury house. She'll learn even more when she's in the jury house and some of these Cookout Alliance members start filtering in as well and maybe spilling a little tea also. And finally, Sarah Beth saying that she's at least glad that she knows she's leaving. So now we know that she knows. She's glad that she's leaving so she can at least dress up. Maybe. Here's the thing. It's an endurance competition. Big Brother may have everyone wearing costumes tomorrow for the competition. And if that's the case, they may not let her dress up. They may want her, even though she knows she's going home, they still may make her wear a costume just to keep a little more suspense for the live viewers. That happened during my season. Kat knew she was going home. She wanted to be dressed up all fancy for Julie Chen, but instead we had the slip and slide competition. They made her wear lederhosen and wear that out onto the stage to talk to Julie. So Sarah Beth wants to dress up. She may or may not have that opportunity. Kyland, oh my gosh, on and on. Kyland with more talk about that he's starting to figure out that there could be this big alliance of some sort of, he's referenced Illuminati as his nickname for him before, that he's starting to realize that there's more going on, and he's hinting all about the Cookout Alliance without actually talking about the Cookout Alliance. And at that point, they talked. They talked until I shut it down. Hours of just talk. Not a whole lot more gameplay from what I saw. A little bit more just conversations, hanging out with each other for their last night together in the Big Brother house and such. So I'm not going to talk about all that. I'm already a little bit over more than I planned. But there you go, guys. So did we have huge, big conversations? No, not really. It's Sarah Beth going home. Some conversations about how the house is going to operate with the new HOH scenarios and things like that. But for the most part, we're all just waiting for tonight's competition. Once we know who the HOH is, then we can start making all kinds of predictions on what's going to happen at nomination ceremony to tomorrow and onward. So I'll have more information. Hopefully, I'll have information about who won HOH by the time we get back tomorrow. Till then, guys, y'all have a fantastic Thursday. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.